What's up, everyone? You are tuned in to P to the third power. That's P to the number 3 RD power. And I'm your host, Portia Miller. And today I have a very special guest with me. His name is Tillman Keaton, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and author of Change Your Life. How's it going, Tillman?
It's going wonderful. Glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
This is a big day for me. This is the first episode of P to the third power.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's very exciting. So while I was reading your book, it connected with me on a whole nother level. You know how you read literature and there may be an author that just sticks out to you. You're like, dang, I feel like I wrote that.
Yeah.
I feel like these are my words. Like, it connects with you so deeply. That's how I felt reading your book. So I think it's safe to say at this point that you're my spirit animal. Yeah, so you hold that title proudly because it's not often where I'm really moved by somebody's words, you know. So let's just jump right into it. Why change your life?
So I truly believe there's 2 types of people who live in the world. Those who live in fear every day and those who live in fearlessness every day. So the entire book is about really making that transition. And I believe that everything that we want to do, everything that we want to accomplish in life comes down to the decision we make every day about how we want to live our lives.
Right.
So if we really want something to come out of what we're doing and who we're becoming, we live in fearlessness. And we have to make that choice every day. And when we talk about changing our lives, we have to make that choice. And when we make that choice, we can have whatever we want to. So,
absolutely. I agree. I read something not too long ago. It was just a simple quote and it stuck with me. It was, you are one decision away from a completely different life.
Exactly.
And it's so true.
Exactly.
One decision. That's so true. So why did you start motivational speaking? What inspired you?
So the funny part is, a friend of mine and I, we did a video. This is 2011. It was called Grace, A Conversation with God. And that video had impacted so many people that at that point we were just traveling and doing different stuff just from that particular piece because it was a spoken word piece. And so it was a gentleman who was going through a hard time, which, you know, all of us can relate to. Right. And he went to God with these questions. And he had a true, intimate conversation with God. And because of that, we traveled to different churches, did different speaking engagements. Right. And we wanted to do more. Sure. And because of who I am and because who he is, we decided, you know, we want to give these people something more than just this spoken word piece. So we started doing the intro and the outro of that piece. And it naturally transitioned into motivational, inspirational speaking.
That's cool. How long ago was that?
That was 7 years ago now.
7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Okay. So 7 years ago, social media wasn't as big as it is now.
Right.
So how were you able to impact so many people? Did it go viral?
It did go viral.
Oh,
and the thing was, it went viral on YouTube. And then a couple years later, it went viral on Facebook. So it was one of those things where it's something that's going to stick around. So who knows? It could be going viral in the next year or so on another platform because that's the type of piece that it was.
Sure. It could resurface.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of video. You know what? A lot of videos that go viral now, I'll look back and do the history on them. And the video was created like 4 or 5 years ago. And it's like, this is just now, you know what I mean, hitting the market. So no, I totally agree with that. Where would you say your passion from helping others stems from?
Because I have a huge family. So I have 14 brothers and sisters. And I know when you hear that number, it's like, wow. Yeah. And I'm the middle child. So I have 7 older siblings and 7 younger siblings. Wow. And 5 of those are boys on each side, 2 of those are girls on each side. So I'm smack dab in the middle. And because I've lived a life where I'm always surrounded by people, there's always expectations. I know from what I come from, I want to help my family. Right. And naturally, anybody who I get close to, I feel like they're family. Right. And so because of that, because I've always had a spirit of generosity and wanting to help people, that created something within me that I could see a man suffering in the middle of the street. And of course, I want to help that guy. But I also want to help the guy who grew up in my neighborhood or a neighborhood like mine. And because of the circumstances, there's statistics that are placed on you and there's expectations that are placed on you. But I want people to come out of that the same way that I did.
Right. So you're from Memphis, right?
Right.
So growing up in Memphis, what impact did that have on you? It's a pretty big city.
Yeah.
But it is in the South.
Yeah.
So what would you say some stigmas that were placed on you from the beginning?
I mean, I think because of the neighborhood that I grew up in, I wasn't supposed to make it out of that. None of us are actually supposed to make it out of that. Of course, the expectation for every last person in that neighborhood is that you won't be anything. You'll be in prison, jail at some point in your life. So because of those and wanting to break those barriers, that's how I became the person that I am.
Right.
And I think as I got older, people looked at me and like, he's different. And because those expectations started to change, for me, I know there's other young men, young women who are in the same types of situations and experience the same expectations placed on their lives that they won't be anything. Those are the people that I want to get in and help, but also those people who are may be those statistics at some point in their lives. I want to help those people too. And so that's what motivates me. That's what inspires me every day to do what I do.
I love it. So the people in your community saw something different in you. They knew that you were different.
Right.
When did you realize that within yourself? Like, I'm not like everybody else.
You know what? It's so funny that you asked that, because even though I grew up in a bigger family, I always felt like somewhat of an individual, even amongst my brothers and sisters. And they'll tell you that, because when it came down to whether I wanted to do something or not, I was always going to go with what Tillman decided Tillman was going to do.
Sure.
I didn't care what everybody else was doing.
Right.
And so that really pushed me outside of my home to still continue to do what I want to do, because I feel whatever I determine that I want to do in my life, I'm going to do it regardless of what everybody else has to say.
Right.
So you may have a certain expectation of me, but I'm going to do me. You can do what you want to do, but I'm going to do me.
Right.
So that's always the mentality that I've had.
Yeah. I want to dive a little bit into the book. In chapter 1, From Passion to Purpose, you say that after childhood, we are forced to stop dreaming. And I thought, when I read that, I was like, wow. And I thought back over my life and my childhood. And I tried to really identify at what point did I stop dreaming? Because as a kid, you want to be this, you want to be that, you want to pursue everything. And your parents, if you're fortunate enough, your parents encourage you to do everything. But at some point, that stopped. And for me, it stopped.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, you go figure it out. You need a job that makes money and can sustain you. So why do you think that is?
I think that's just the nature of our society, unfortunately, because as a child, you have all of these dreams and you think everything is possible. And then somebody says no. And you're like, okay, I can't do that. I have to have another dream other than being an actor. I have to have a plan B. I have to want to do something else. I have to go to college. So people really push you in another direction based on their own fears. So say for instance, I had a child. And for some reason, I wanted to be an actor or athlete, football player, or whatever. And because I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, I tell my child, okay, you may want to lower your expectations. Everybody doesn't make it to the NFL. Everybody doesn't turn out to be Will Smith.
Right.
And so the more that I hear that, I'm going to start believing it. And so I'm the type of person, I believe in, your subconscious and the way that you can, change your mindset, change your mentality based on constantly telling yourself something, constantly hearing something.
Affirmations, right?
Exactly. So if the person that you trust with your life, your parent, is telling you that you can't do something, and then your teacher is telling you that you can't do something, and then your pastor is telling you that you can't do something, after a while, you're like, you know what? I can't do it. And so now you're convinced.
Right.
So now that plan B is all that you have. And when plan B doesn't work out, You go to plan C, go to plan whatever it is.
Right.
But it's because we're told no, we're told that we can't do these things. That's why after you grow up a little bit, you stop believing in yourself and you stop believing in what you can accomplish based on everybody else's expectations of you.
I love that. That's so true. At the beginning of chapter 2, you said, I recently discovered that most heart attacks happen in the morning between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m., primarily between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. I thought that was interesting because I read an article too, not too long ago, and it was on job dissatisfaction cost this country up to $550 billion a year because so many people they hate their jobs. Right. They hate the work that they do. So why do you think so many people give up on their dreams and settle for mediocrity?
I think at some point we all just figure, this is the way it has to be. And because we have to pay rent, because we have to pay bills, we just go to work, get the check, pay those bills, and live our lives on the weekends. And so when we think about that Sunday feeling, when it's 9 o'clock, you're like, man, I got to get up. Weekend was great, but now I got to get up and go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
And so when that Monday morning, you wake up, you look around, man, my life sucks. Yeah. And you don't want to go into the office. Right. And that's, I think, for a lot of people, something they're constantly dealing with, something they constantly have to face. But I think people just give up because they think that's the way life has to be. Right. And that's absolutely not true. We can, for those of us who feel like we have to go to an office and pay bills, we can do that. But when we get home after 5 o'clock, that needs to shut down, and we need to do whatever we think we want to do with our lives. So whether that's being an author, being an actor, we need to commit ourselves to whatever we want to do after those work hours are over, and we can slowly transition into whatever else we want to do.
Yes, I totally believe that. I don't understand how people can go work 8 hours for a company and then not come home and work on their own goals.
Exactly.
It's like, really? But again, it's a mindset.
And some people will tell you, I'm just tired when I get off work.
Yep.
Well, you're probably tired when you go into work, but you commit yourself to those 8 hours.
8 hours.
So you can give yourself at least 2 or 3 hours when you get home. So
exactly. And I think people think, I'm not being rewarded for that. From a monetary standpoint.
Right.
I'm not getting paid to do that. It's going to take too long to get to a point where I can get paid.
Yep.
And I think the intention is wrong. So if people start to change their intention behind what they're doing or what they want to do, then everything else changes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. In chapter 3, Change Your Mind, you state, change your mind about who you were yesterday in order to create who you desire to be today. So I'm sure you had to get to that point yourself. So what did the darkest moment of your life look like?
I honestly believe the darkest moment of my life was last year when I tore my ACL, because when you talk about somebody who's a professional athlete, they have all these people around them every day. These injuries happen to them all the time. But they have full teams around them, doctors, trainers, all types of people pushing them to get better. But when I experienced that, and I know when the average person experienced that, they don't have those types of people. And so because I was in a situation where I could work from home and do different stuff, I spent most of my days alone in an apartment hurting because I couldn't take disability or do anything like that. I had to work.
Right.
So I'm just sitting there every day within the confines of my 800 square foot apartment, looking at walls every day. So it almost felt like I was in solitary confinement in a way. And the thing was, when you think about that, and then you can't walk around your apartment like a normal person, you can't go down to the store, you can't step outside, get some light or anything like that. And my knee felt like crap every time I stood up. So that took me to a place that I've never been before, that I never want to go back to again. But it also made me understand everything that we want to accomplish in life. There is a certain timeline. So there's a certain amount of work that is required of you to commit yourself to something. So say for instance, I have a goal, I want to save $365 by the end of the year, just for conversation purposes.
Right.
Well, in order for me to save that $365, I can't just say, you know what, on December 31st, I'm going to put $365 in my bank account just because, you know, that's how I'm going to save $365.
Right.
So instead of doing that, think backwards. What would be the easiest way to get to that point? I could just save $1 every day. I could just save, you know, $2 every 2 days or whatever it is, whatever you decide you want to do.
Sure.
So you break your goals down into incremental stages. And so when it came down to me rebuilding the strength in my leg, which I'm still working on, I had to look at what 6 weeks looks like, what 12 weeks looks like, what 6 months looks like. So I had to break those goals down into smaller goals in order to reward myself for reaching those milestones. But when I was just focused on, man, I tore my ACL, my life is over. I'm sitting here in the dark, like all by myself. That's when I got to a place where, you know, I felt like I couldn't do anything. But when I realized I should reward myself for reaching certain milestones in my process, that's when everything started to work out. And so if we commit ourselves to our goals the same way, then we are being rewarded. It may not be monetarily, but we're being rewarded in a way that we can look back and say, you know what, 6 months ago, I wasn't the same person. 6 months ago, I didn't have P to the third power. 6 months ago, I didn't have change your life, whatever it is. When you commit yourself to something, just do it.
Yes, just do
Work on it the best way you know how. And like you said, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, and that's interesting because in your book was released in 2013, right?
2014.
2014.
Yep.
Okay, so about 3 years ago,
Yep.
3 or 4 years ago. And in your book, at that time, your darkest moment was you had lost 3 uncles.
Yep.
And your grandmother.
Yep.
Within months apart from each other.
It was a month apart.
A month apart from each other, which is just traumatic.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it was rough. It was rough because I was already having a difficult time in college at that point because, you know, I had financial setbacks, all types of stuff that happened. And then in December, my mom's youngest brother died. After that, a month after, my mom's oldest brother died. Literally the day after he died, my grandmother died. And I'm just, man, what is this? Like, what did my family do to deserve something like this? So, I mean, that took me to a place that, you know, I never wanted to be. And even during that time, you know, I had to have that type of conversation. I have a video of, you know, performance that I did in New York from that particular time. And I just broke. Because when you think about stuff like that, you don't really expect it to happen to you until it happens to you. And then you have to deal with those emotions. You have to make sure your family's okay. You have to make sure that you're in the right mindset to move forward with everything that you're doing. So, I mean, I've had some traumatic stuff happen to me, but that one after another, it was something that I couldn't have planned for. So when we think about our mentality, the way we look at things, we also have to look at it from a perspective of, you know, I can't be selfish in the way that I think about it because my grandmother was probably hurting for years. And so it was probably her deciding that, you know, I want to move on from this pain. I want to free my spirit from this pain. So once I started to change the way that I looked at it, obviously it didn't remove the burden entirely, but it made me understand that I can't look at death or anything else selfishly because I can want a person to be around just for them to be around. But if that person is suffering, who am I helping?
Okay, I totally agree. So you would say that experience helped mold you into who you are?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before moving to LA, you actually spent some time in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
So what led you to that decision?
You know what? The interesting thing about moving to Atlanta is I always saw it as a place of opportunity. So living in Tennessee, completely different landscape, completely different demographics where I was. So I wanted to go to a place that the people who looked like me were successful. And Atlanta offered that. And so when I moved there, I was moving and shaking and doing different things, but I ironically found myself doing a lot of stuff still back in Tennessee where home was. And so the people that I was working with at that point in time, I'm always traveling. So I was doing writing and doing different stuff, and I'm still going back to Tennessee. So I'm like, man, how can I move to Atlanta and still, be working and doing stuff in Tennessee when the reason that I worked or wanted to move to Atlanta in the first place was for the opportunities that were here.
Exactly.
So I'm telling myself, where are the opportunities that are here?
Yeah.
But eventually I sort of broke that mold and, found my groove in Atlanta. But I think moving to Atlanta was fun because I got a chance to see the types of people that I wanted to see and see them in a light that I wanted to see them as far as being successful and whatnot. It was a good move.
Yeah. You're a family guy. You seem like you have a close-knit family, but you had to leave them for something, to do something greater and bigger than you. What did that process look like? Was it hard for you? You
know what? Because my oldest sister, she's in the Army. She's been in for 21 years now. It'll be 22, I think, in like August or something. But because I saw her grow, I've always looked at her like, you know what, that's my inspiration right there. Because the things that she's had to accomplish. She was the oldest of 15 children. So there was a lot of pressure. Exactly. So if my parents wanted to travel, they wanted to do something, they had to count on her to do whatever it was as far as being at home. But by the time she turned 17, she said, you know what, I'm out of here. Y'all can deal with this. I'm done. That's crazy. And she just took off. So at that point in time, she moved to New York. And then from New York to South Carolina, South Carolina to wherever else. I think it was back in Tennessee in Fort Campbell. From there back to South Carolina. From South Carolina to, she was in Korea for a while. And now she's living in Seattle. So she's been all over the place. But just speaking with her and getting an understanding of what was necessary in order to move our family away from the neighborhood that we grew up in. She is the real inspiration behind me being able to move and do whatever I want to do without any hesitation. Because, I could sit around, be with my family and say, hey, I'm doing all of this for you, but I'm stuck. But after a while, there's only so much you can accomplish in that particular space. And so that's why, we hop around and do what we do.
Much respect to her, because I know what it's like being the older sibling.
That's
why I've kind of taken the path and done what I've done, just to be an example. So no, much respect to your sister. So what would you say is your life's purpose?
My life's purpose? I truly believe at the end of the day, and I feel like this about everybody, but I of course, 100% feel like this is for me. When we really think about what we need to do in life, we should be thinking about helping and guiding other people. At the end of the day, that is the essence of who I am. That's the essence of everything that I believe. So whether it be writing a book, inspiring somebody, we need to push ourselves to help and be a guide to people who are coming after us. Because at the end of the day, we can't do anything if somebody's not guiding us. So we need mentors. We need people who can push us to be our best. And so that's why I do what I do.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I believe that we were all put here for a divine purpose. And I think that purpose is to serve others for the greater good in some way, shape, or form. Even if you own a restaurant and you flip burgers, but you make the best burgers in town, you get the best experience, right? So anytime somebody comes into your restaurant, they feel like it's home. Like, like I'm a part of this, no matter what it is, at any capacity. I truly believe that we are all here to do that. And 100%. Until we find that, we will never live a life of fulfillment, purpose, or meaning. So I totally agree. So what advice would you give someone who is struggling to find their purpose? Because I've talked to a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that reach out to me too. Like, I don't know what my purpose is. How do I find my purpose? I don't know what I'm interested in. I don't know what I like. So what advice would you give to somebody who's struggling with that?
Spend some time alone. And whatever you find yourself doing, it's probably related to what you really want to do. So a lot of times when I didn't understand what I wanted to be, I'd just sit there, I'd read, I write, because I do spoken word and stuff like that. And I found myself writing so much. I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just do this?
Right.
And then on top of that, I always found myself in positions where I'm speaking in front of an audience or I'm leading an organization. So,
and you were comfortable doing that?
I was comfortable doing that. My dad is a pastor. He has 2 churches. So that's always been placed on me, okay?
Yes.
And I have his namesake. So ironically, out of my 5 older brothers, somehow I ended up being named after my dad. I don't know why that happened, but it was designed to be that way because he stands in front of people every Sunday and talks about God and whatever it is on his mind at that point in time.
I knew you were my spirit animal. I knew you were my spirit animal because my mom's a pastor too.
Oh, wow.
She is. She's
That's
a
great.
pastor too. And so that was always just hung over my head. And I felt like, you know, just naturally that I would follow.
Yep.
So no, I feel you on that, man. I knew it. That's great. That's great. So with all of that being said, what does success look like for Tillman?
I think we go back to everything that we've talked about. I'm not successful unless I can bring somebody else up. So for me, success looks like doing everything that I desire to do, writing, traveling, speaking, all of those things. But I really want to create and help mentor communities, other young men, other young women to be the person that they desire to be. So I could, you know, do this, have all the money in the world. But if that's my only accomplishment, I haven't really done anything.
Right.
I need to build and help build brighter futures for other people. So for me, success is determined by how much I can help other people.
I love it. What would you say is your most recent aha moment?
With my most recent experience with my knee. So I think I was going through a time where I really didn't see things the way that I wanted to see. And it's funny because I posted about this on Facebook the other day. I thought my vision got blurry in the sense that my confidence was shaken. I didn't feel that I was the person that I envisioned myself being in 2017. And so I'm looking at all of these things, looking at my current situation and telling myself, I haven't really done it. Right. And even now, I know there's a lot more for me to do. There's a ton more for me to do. But then when I looked around and saw all that I had accomplished, where I was from and how far I've come, I didn't expect myself to be in LA when I was 10 years old. Right. I had dreams and everything that, you know, I believed was possible at that point in time. But if I would have told my 10-year-old self that I'd be 27 living in LA in downtown in a nice apartment building where everybody thinks it's the greatest thing ever, I'm like, okay, we'll see when it happens.
You're right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But when those things start to transpire, that's when I just felt like it should have been. But the aha moment for me was going through all of this and then looking back and saying, you know what? I wasn't supposed to be here in the first place when you talk about statistics. And when you add all of that together, I feel like I've done a lot, even though there's a lot more for me to do.
Love it. I love that. Well, I just want to say thank you again, Tillman.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure having you here today. Like I said, I knew that this was going to be, I knew that you were the perfect guest for the first episode because like I said, when I read that book, it was just this connection. I really connected with it. So congratulations on it. Should we expect another book coming soon?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So that will be coming within the next 6 months. I won't give you a solid date, but it'll be coming in the next 6 months. So be on the lookout for it.
That's what Tillman's been up to. Okay. I love it. So for the people that don't know, where can they find you?
So social media, Tillman Keaton. So just like that on all social media, I want it to be consistent. TILMONKEATON. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat if you're on Snapchat, even on YouTube as Tillman Keaton. And I have another YouTube channel with my fiance. That's Jasmine and Tillman.
And it's funny. It is funny, you guys.
Yeah.
Check that
So
one out.
you'll get to see more of my personality on that
Absolutely.
one. But yeah, so that's it.
Cool. And last but not least, for anyone who is interested in reading this book, where can they purchase it?
So you can go on to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, type in my name or type in Change Your Life. It'll be there. In addition to that, I'm doing a relaunch of my website, which is tillmankeaton.com. So that should happen in the next month or so. Okay. And it'll be on there as well.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you, my man.
Of course, I appreciate it.
All right, guys, you have just experienced P to the third power. That's P to the number 3, RD, and I'm your host, Portia Miller. Until next time.